This is what can happen in broad daylight when right-wing and left-wing demonstrators meet on the street. In this case, fights broke out right in front of the Justice Center, yet Portland police were hard to find. They could have declared a riot, but never did, saying later, while the activity in the group met the definition of a riot, PPB did not declare one because there were not adequate police resources available. In fact, police say thanks to ongoing protests and other calls, they only had 30 officers on to police a situation where people were injured from violence, and many from the alt-right side arrived in Portland with firearms.
It's shocking to me that it's just this personal to them.
Juan Chavez with the Oregon Justice Resource Center is not buying police explanations for inaction. He says they have a big problem with legitimacy, and
they squander it every night. They go out there and beat up folks. And they just frankly didn't see a purpose for them to be there on Saturday afternoon when there was a fascist incursion into Portland from out-of-state agitators.
Police say they are investigating this frightening situation where a man from the far-right demonstration points a handgun at the opposing crowd. Meanwhile, President Trump tweeted, "These riots are an anti-government movement from the left that are all in Democrat-run cities. The mayors have got to let their police do what they know how to do. Would be very easy to suppress or call in the federal government. We will solve problem fast." Chavez says it's not a Democrat or Republican issue.
Every city in this country over-polices and over-militarizes their police forces. And, frankly, President Trump already sent in his troops, and they failed miserably.
Although it is hard to call Saturday's lack of police presence a success, we'll never really know if things would have gotten better or worse if Portland officers moved in. And we did try and get a response and additional information from Portland Police today. We got nothing. We also got nothing from the mayor's office or the governor's office, for that matter. Tim Gordon, KGW News.